Good evening, folks. Welcome to another edition of Assembly of Excellence. I am your host for this evening, Deep Entropy, Last Double Writers Creed, Creed Films, 1984. The list goes on and on and on. Glory, praise, and honor to the Most High. We are here one more day. Air in our lungs, food in our stomachs, clothes on our backs. We got a good show for you tonight, folks. Get the beeswax out of your ears. Make sure you've probably showered before you sat down or laid down and got cozy with your favorite book. And pull up. We got some things to talk about tonight. You already know how I like to give it up. Giving my flowers out to my content creators, my writers, my storytellers, whatever genre you operate from, I salute you. I tip my hat off to you. Continue to grind, continue to work on your craft. You know this gentleman very well, and if you aren't familiar with him, you will be sooner or later. I guarantee. This gentleman has been nothing but precise, professional, and proficient in every dialogue shared on his stream. This is going to be an interesting one, folks. Make sure you like, share, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you go follow this brother as well. Mr. Matthews, you are up.
Yes, I am. Above ground and vertical as usual. How are you, my friend?
Trying to stay vertical.
Good place to be. Good place to be.
Not trying to be yes. Horizontal. That can work out in one or two ways. And right now I am content with standing, right? So
Yeah, not laying
how's
down, not doing the other
everything
thing. So let's
going,
just
brother?
let's stay vertical.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I I got two clips for us today. Um and for the viewers who watch this right now in live time and the ones who watch this later on, you can look at this in different ways. I am presenting these particular clips for a singular purpose, which is to answer one of the biggest questions that has been amongst society for years and years and years, which is, can parents be friends with their children? These two clips that I'm about to play, while they don't directly show you a person being brought up from birth, showing birthdays, birthday parties, interactions between parent and child. What it does do is it ties into different scenarios and different outcomes based on what could have or should have been present within that household that wasn't there. And there's some similarities, but there's some parallels too. So just be open minded to what you are about to watch. Now, I'm going to play this first one. It's about 4 minutes, and I don't know if this is a parody, a staged video, or not, but just based off of my experience with seeing this in real time, just because you could interpret it as being a staged video, it doesn't change the fact that this happened. So the father in this particular clip got some unsavory news, and it was between him and his daughter. So we are going to take a look at this one, and we will go from there. So, 1 second. Let me unmute this. Hold up. Pause it. Bring it back. There we go.
Get your stuff and get out my house, young lady. You think you grown? You gonna go behind my back and get pregnant? You only 16 years old. Who you think you is? And all the stuff I bought you, you need to give me that. You ain't taking none of my stuff with you at all. You think you grown? Don't come back home. That's what's wrong with y'all young girls nowadays. Y'all want to get pregnant and do all this crazy stuff like it's all cool. I need my shoes too. Give me my dunks. Give me where that phone at? Give me that phone too. You think you grown? You gonna go out here and get pregnant behind my back? Ever since your mom died, you been acting real. You been acting real different, like you grown. You don't understand. I love you. I want all my so you got to get out of my house today. Put all them clothes in my bag. Put all them clothes in that bag right now. Put all them clothes in that bag. You got to get out of my house. You think you grown? You gonna go out here and get pregnant behind my back? You
I think we're just experiencing a little bit of technical difficulties, people. I think it's just the quality of the live stream was just not that good. Looking forward to having him back. Well, and while we're waiting for Melvin to get back, if there's anybody on here, I'm really hoping to hear what you think about the clip that we've seen so far. What are your reactions? What do you think was going on? I'm more than happy to share some things that I have. I actually had prepared some stuff beforehand, but if you're watching this and you saw the clip that we had before we came out, before Melvin had to reset, I'd love to hear what you have to say. You can say in the comments, just give your reaction, whether it's live now or whether it's actually during the replay. What are your thoughts about what was happening? A father found out that his daughter got pregnant at 16, and he kicked her out. So, what are your thoughts about that? What is the statement of that reaction, and where do you think that came from? And what are your thoughts about that? Just let's know what you think. I want to hear what you have to say, and we'll just keep this going. I'll keep the flow going until Melvin gets back, and we can have a discussion about this. So for me, um, I understand where the father's coming from because it seems to me that his idea is that here we go, Saved by the Bell.
Yeah,
Welcome
yeah,
back.
yeah, yeah. One of those. I think you got the gist of that first one though.
Yeah. I was keeping it going while you were resetting.
I appreciate that very much. But I think you got the gist of that first clip, man. 16-year-old daughter, man. Apparently he found out the hard way that she got pregnant, and you could hear it in his voice that he was heartbroken. He didn't really know how to really take that in. Like when I watched this the first time, it was like, all right, is this real? Is this really happening? Is he really about to put her out? And then on top of that, I'm asking myself, all right, well, a part of me is like, you know what? Even if this wasn't real, I feel him on that 1,000%. I couldn't imagine being a father and having a child, especially a little girl, being out here in the world completely just losing herself, just after you put all this blood, sweat, and tears into trying to raise them right and teach them the right way. Now I really don't know the history behind that, but yeah, there was a lot to unpack there. What are your initial thoughts on the video, and how do you feel about his decision to basically tell her to fend for herself?
Um, his reaction, it probably belies a lot about his parenting style, and the, I'm gonna say some things that people might not agree with. I don't care. You can figure out your own response on your own. But what I know about raising children is that it's habitual. First of all, you do what you know, and you do the best that you can with the information that you have. And for those who don't have the information, it's really hard for them to balance their own personal lives with the lives of their children and raising their children without losing themselves. And today, parents are really concerned about losing themselves in their children, and they have this belief that they should be able to have a life while they're raising their kids. And while I'm not against that, that's a choice. One thing that you have to keep in mind is if you're going to raise a kid and you're not going to put that child first as a priority, there's going to be problems because your children learn from you. Your children learn their habits from you. You are the first teacher of those kids. And you are also the one who passes down the cultural habits that you express. They inherit everything about you early on in life. And if what you are doing is it's self-serving, it is only taking care of the minimum standard, not providing the warmth and the emotional security that a child needs, where a child has to essentially discover on their own how to survive, then they're going to do so. And for you to get mad at the outcome, it's funny. When I first came to Canada, when I first started living with my now wife, one of her kids, she is a whipper. She's a firecracker. That's the word I'm looking for. And she said early on, "You get what you get, and you can't be upset." And that is absolutely true. If you are going to raise a child a certain way, you're going to get a certain outcome for the most part. And that outcome is going to be based largely on the influence you have on your kids. So when I see this, I see a father who wants to believe that he's done the right things, but obviously there's something that's been missing. And through that missing part, his daughter felt the need to go somewhere else for the emotional support that she could get. At that age, boys and girls, they're going to experiment. But the experimentation went awry. So you have a father who set a standard but has not provided the emotional security, the emotional comfort that a child needs. And now he is continuing that by saying, "You got pregnant, get out." He cares more about the standard than he does about the quality of care that he gives to a kid, and that's unfortunate.
So there's a couple things that I noticed in this video. His mentioning of the loss of the other parent, the punishment or the style of punishment. I would like to know what the relationship was between her and the mom. Now, the reality of all of this is whether or not you had a nuclear household or you had one that didn't really have that structure where one parent was stern and the other one was nurturing. Whether you had that or you didn't, even as a kid, once you step foot out of the door and you're away from your parents for that 8 hours, those extracurriculars after school, once you're away from your parents, the world is your oyster. You're outside of the restrictions of what you can do and what you can't do. You have the elements and the recipes that's given to you by your mom and your dad, their habits, their traits, their good and bad attributes inside the home. You take a part of that with you outside, but once you're out them doors, you're dealing with other people and other kids that might have grew up differently. So you're intermingling with a whole entirely different world and a whole different space. So your curiosity is always going to be expanded by the things that you were restricted or you were restrained from in the household. Her being in the space that she was, you see it all the time. She's not the first and she won't be the last. But the thing that I am kind of wondering about is with or without the rules and all of the boundaries set in motion by the parents, would she have still gone down that road anyway? And if I'm
I
being
don't
honest,
know.
the odds are she probably would have. Go ahead.
I have a rebuttal for that. I have a rebuttal for that because to say that she absolutely would have that's an unknown. So what I got from that is he's wrapped up in his own grief, but also it seems like he left the raising of his kids to his wife, and now that she is gone, he needs to step in. He doesn't know how to do that because he hasn't been a part of the child raising process for one reason or another. It doesn't. The reason is immaterial. Excuse me. The main thing is when when you have a parent who is nurturing. When you have both parents that are nurturing, you can have a stern father who still shows that he loves you. You can have a nurturing mother that still lays down the law and still sets the standard. It's having that balance. It's knowing how to be a partner in raising kids. And the reason why this is so important is because there's a book that I read called the Psychodynamic Diagnostic Manual. It's more of um, a psychological textbook, like the Diagnostic and Statistics Manual, the DSM. But unlike the DSM, which is just a collection of diagnoses that insurance company use for coding purposes to pay doctors, the PDM is a way of being able to understand human behavior. It gets down to the nitty gritty of why do people do what they do, because it's something I've said on many shows is people do things only when there is a reason to do so, even if that reason is false or imagined. And when you have something that can really categorize why people do what they do, you also have to figure out how were people raised to do what they do. And there are four major um, qualifiers or four major capacities, if you will, that must be developed early on in life in order for a person to become well adjusted or to set the process of becoming well adjusted. And without these things, a person is going to act in a way that is imbalanced or rash or impulsive or self-serving because they haven't been shown what right looks like, what a well-adjusted, civil-minded person who is disciplined would act. And one of them is the capacity for impulse control and regulation. And people who start having sex early on, they've shown it's been shown in many studies that these people have low impulse control. The sooner you start having sex, the less impulse control you have. There is a direct correlation there. And so those who wait longer show that they have a degree of controlling those impulses for getting what they want, the gratifying impulse. And those who can't or those who won't, they lack that control, the ability to control their impulses is diminished. To what degree? That there's a spectrum there. But the point is, when you have two parents that are both well invested in the child's development, they're going to instill among other things the ability to control your impulses and regulate your behavior. And I wonder how this young lady who has decided to engage in sexual acts, how her how that lack of impulse control has impacted her choices that she's made up to then, and how they're going to impact her choices made further down the road.
I want to add this, and the reason why I chose that video, and I have another one that I'm going to play here in a second. I'm not going to play the whole video. It's about seven minutes or so. But the reason I chose these two is because you see a lot of videos where women and men are on social media kind of dancing and doing all this cutesy stuff for TikTok and YouTube. You got men that's showing their kids how to flash guns and money and flaunt it and throw it around all over social media, showing them how to gang bang and deal with girls their age and deal with women, the red pill, so on and so on. And then when you turn around, you get videos like this one right here, and it's like, was he too buddy with her? Was the mom too uh dismissed with her parenting in terms of morals and setting some type of standards there? Like how is it that she is so curious at the age that she's in looking at how her attitude was, she didn't seem disrespectful in the video. She was very obedient to what he was saying to her. But in the same token, if you listen to the way she spoke, you could tell that a lot of that didn't come from him. That had to have come from her mom and from kids at her school. So it's like when I see teenagers or young adults acting in a way that resembles an adult, I always go back to the adult, because why is your child talking like you? Why is your child acting like you? Or granted, you can't control certain things. That's why I said once you get out here in the world, it's a whole entirely different playing field. All bets are off. But as you just stated, if you have that foundation there, then you kind of limit the odds of your child going down that road. Is it favorable on one side over the other? That's up for debate. I would really say you have a stronger chance at having someone who is stern and on your ass every day versus someone who was lenient, laid back, kind of just spoils it and allows you to kind of just get away with everything. I think there has to be a balance there. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but
Well, let's see the video and then we'll discuss it.
All right. So this is completely opposite. This is a young man who was intoxicated. The police told him to go home, but he just refused for whatever reason, and they ended up locking him up anyway.
You got me fucked up, bro. Yeah? You got me fucked up, Jimmy. Jimmy, you got me fucked up.
Okay. All right, what's it going to be, man? You going to go home or what?
I'm going to go home, but Jimmy, you got me fucked up.
I don't know why I got you fucked up. So
You got me fucked up, Jimmy.
I'll talk to James.
His name James.
My name is James.
I'll talk to him. What's your name?
Me?
Yeah.
Crawford. Yeah, everybody thinks if you're Jimmy or James, you're
What's
both.
your name,
Could
bro?
be one.
McGraw.
Your name? Who?
McGraw.
McGraw.
Oh,
What's your
shit
name?
down there.
Jimmy.
What's your name?
Jimmy.
Your name ain't no motherfucking Jimmy.
You called me
bro.
Jimmy. Hey, why are you getting so close, man?
I'm not getting close
All
to
right,
you,
just
bro.
go. Just go. You're free to go.
Bro, Jimmy, you got me fucked up. Jimmy.
I don't know why I have you fucked up. What do I have you fucked
James.
up? James, that's that.
James.
That's what I have.
You got me goddamn fucked up, bro.
Why do I have you fucked up?
You got me fucked up.
You're not in handcuffs right now. You're free to go. I made sure of that.
Put the cuffs on me.
Why do you want to go to jail now?
Put the cuffs on me, little bitch.
Dude, just go home. Yeah,
Finish
just
that
go home,
cigarette.
man.
You got me fucked up,
Okay.
bro.
If you're gonna act like that, you are gonna go to jail.
No, I'm playing.
Go home. Bye.
Let's go.
See ya.
We're trying to not arrest
This is
you
your
right
chance
now.
to
What are you
leave.
so far to understand
Listen. Let me ask you. Can I ask you one question?
What?
Why y'all got him going to jail?
This is not your
This is a
business.
completely separate
This isn't even
incident.
anything to do with what happened over there.
You talking about a separate incident?
This is an entire different call.
An entire different call.
Yes.
So what are you going to jail for?
It doesn't matter. It
about
doesn't
it.
concern you.
It don't concern me.
It doesn't. You weren't involved in it, so it
Crawford.
doesn't concern you.
Hey, Monte.
Hey, that's not even him.
Oh shit!
All right, you're about to go to jail. You want
Get the
that?
fuck away from me,
Then
bro.
go.
Get your bitch ass away from me, bro.
I don't know you, man.
What? I think that's my people right there. Hold on. You know? You're a fucking dweeb, bro. You're a fucking dweeb.
I am a dweeb.
Yeah, you a fucking dweeb.
Go away.
I'll beat your ass.
Go away. Go away.
What you want to do?
Go away.
Why you got him going to jail, bro?
Because I told you.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
No, you didn't.
Go home or you're going to get arrested.
You go home.
I'm trying to. Go home.
I want to know, bro.
I told you.
You didn't tell me, bro.
You got caught with a stolen gun.
No, you didn't, bro.
Yes, he did.
Tell me, bro. Stop lying, bro.
I told
You little bitch. You didn't fucking stop lying to me, bitch.
you need to go.
I saved running his mouth. They put the handcuffs on.
I can hear you now.
Yeah. They basically he kept running his mouth. They basically put the handcuffs on him, took him in. Yeah, it was just a complete clusterfuck right there. And I just a disclaimer. I'm black, so I can say this. He was acting like a fucking dumbass. And he's a teenager. So I want y'all to be perfectly clear on that. He was acting like a fucking dumbass. I don't know where this was. I don't know what led up to it. It just pans to him having a back and forth with these officers. You can tell that they weren't really trying to be aggressive or present any type of danger or anything. He walked up to all of them. It was just a part of me was just looking at it like, where did this come from? You don't just learn this by yourself. Somebody had to have taught you that. And like I said, these are polar opposites. The first clip was about a 16-year-old. This one was about a young gentleman who had a little too much to drink. Maybe he had some other stuff in the system. And just on the surface level of where they're at right now, I'm pretty sure that he's grown up around some rough people, and his lifestyle wasn't the most favorable. Or maybe it could have been nice, and maybe he came from a loving household and he just decided to go off and do his own thing. But my question again, those were babies at one point, newborns. They didn't know nothing about having children and drinking. They didn't know nothing about being disrespectful to their authorities. They didn't have no clue or recollection on how to move and operate like this. So what are we doing with this?
Well, there are a couple things that I see here.
Who are we pointing?
The first one is there has to be some responsibility for the parents, of course. And then there's also responsibility for the parents again when the child is exposed to something. There's no reinforcement to show that this is bad behavior. And this goes back to another fact about human behavior is that negative behavior that is not corrected becomes rewarded. So when you are acting like a fool, if you get involved with the gang, or if you get involved doing drugs or alcohol or violence or something, and no one steps in and corrects that and say, hey, you don't do that. A upstanding man does not do that. That is how you act like a punk. And I didn't raise a punk. If you're not doing that, or if you don't insist that when someone does that, that that behavior must be punished in some way to provide that correction, that the lack of boundaries become the reward. Basically saying, you did something bad, good job. And so then when you're rewarded, you want to keep doing what you're doing. All right, so I didn't get I didn't get corrected for drinking. I'm just gonna keep on drinking. I didn't get corrected for violence or for being in a gang or surrounding myself with dangerous people. Okay, I'm gonna keep on doing that. And there are many ways to correct that behavior. One of the best ways as a parent is to be someone that the kids can come to about anything. When they come to you with something that is meaningful, that shows that they need that direction, and you give it, they're more likely to keep coming to you for that direction because they crave it. They want to know that they matter. They want to know that someone cares about them and someone gives a damn about their emotional development. And by providing them that corrective behavior in a loving way is like, well, people like us, we do not do these kinds of things because this is what it leads to. Or I did not raise someone to be this way because I raised you to have this kind of standard. And by having this kind of standard, by showing that you can be a man, that you can be a upstanding gentleman in society, you don't do this. Because this is how people who are not upstanding gentlemen act. Something that gives them a frame of reference to really evaluate whether they want to act uncivil or they want to have their behavior marked with civility. So that's what I see here. It's his behavior. It comes down to the inability to use internal standards and ideals correctly, as well as not having a really good range or a good way of being able to communicate himself or understanding what's going on or desire to want to.
You can play ball with your kids. You can play Barbie and have tea time with your little ones and go to the field and throw the ball around, whatever. Jump in the little ball tank at Chuck E. Cheese. Maybe play a little video game here and there. But if you at the point to where they calling you by your first name and they can curse and kind of step out of a child's place when they talking to older people, that's a problem. I think we got to differentiate the levels of what parenting is and what being a mentor is. How can you be a friend and a parent? I think that's impossible. Your mission, your goal is to instruct, instill, guide, and give them the tools to be a successful and productive citizen. Give them character, give them wisdom, give them choice, give them different options to be able to navigate this world in a way that will be beneficial to them and to anyone that they come across as they grow older and older. You start from elementary school, you get to middle school, you start to learn all these different things with academia. You want them to go to college or play sports or whatever the case may be, but you don't want them to be a statistic of any kind, especially um, surrounded by stigmas that's already hard on us in the first place. And this wasn't me targeting one demographic, because this goes all across the board. But what I've noticed in the Western part of the world is people are way more lenient and more kind of just laid back in terms of being, authoritative. Nobody wants to whoop ass anymore. Nobody really wants to be the bad guy. But you can't be the good guy and the bad guy. It has to be one way or another. I would rather you hate me for loving you in a tough way than to hate me for not giving you the instruction that you should have had. 15, 20 years later, you on the Maury Povich show having a conversation about, oh, I had my my mom and my dad, but they kind of just let me get away with anything. So I just grew up thinking that I could do whatever I want. And so I was just out here wilding. Or you sitting there talking to Dr. Phil about your problems, like, cash me out, girl. Talking about this, that, and the third. Because the first thing that a child is going to do is point the finger at who? They get locked up 100 times. Who they going to blame that on? They get in trouble. Who they going to blame that on? Anytime something goes horribly wrong, who is society going to look at? Like right now, if you watch the video, who are you pointing the finger at? Are you blaming the child solely, or are you going back to the root of the problem, which is the parent? It always really goes back to the parent, because I get it. We love our kids. We want to see them happy. We want to see them exuberant and joyous, but at what cost? What's the price we really going to pay in order for them to be something? Really?
I think the best way to describe parenting is that of a mentor. And the reason why I say that is because, yes, you are raising children, but children become adults, and adults make their own choices. Khalil Gibran, who was a great author and poet, he wrote a book called The Prophet. And in The Prophet, it talks about many different things. If you haven't read it, please do. One of them is on children. And I love this so much. So, and a woman with a suckling babe in her arms said, "And what about children? What do you have to say about children?" And the prophet replied, "Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life longing for itself. They come through you, but are not from you. And though they are with you, they belong not to you. You can house their bodies, but not their thoughts. They have their own thoughts. You can provide their bodies, but not their souls, for their souls live in a place of tomorrow that you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. You can strive to be like them, but you cannot make them just like you." It goes on a little bit more than that, but that is such a great way to see children, that yes, you are raising them, but they're the future of mankind. and they need to be treated as such. They need to be given the exact same kind of respect that you demand for yourself. And they need to be shown, need to be taught how to respect themselves and others. And by giving them those tools, the tools of being able to say, one day you will make your own choices. One day you will go out into the world and you will claim what is yours and you will leave your mark. And in doing so, my hope is that you do that knowing that you are worthy of respect, and so is everyone else. And so treat yourself and others with that respect. It is the greatest way to raise a child, I think, to teach them the ways that life is, the ways that life are, and to help them understand how they fit into that world, what they're capable of, and how to work with others to create something even better than themselves.
The interesting part about this is, even though I'm not a parent myself, if I put myself in the shoes of someone who is, because I do have nieces and nephews, I'm looking at it from a place of, for one, you're going to be my age, Lord willing, one day. You're going to develop your own style, your own personality. You're going to go to certain schools. You're going to have heartbreak. You're going to experience a lot of challenges that are probably going to exceed the advancements that we have been presented. It's a tradition, and it's a cycle that happens in everyone's lifespan. When I was growing up, we didn't have the devices that we have now. By the time you get to my age, it's going to be something way different than what this is. And looking at how sick the world is between the lack of education that's being, what's the word? The lack of education that is being absorbed by our youth now because of many different factors. The social media outlets, the music, the religion wars, the hypergamy doctrine that's being pushed out here every day, the lack of accountability men and women have with each other, the blame game, the feminism, all of it. Me looking at how my neighborhoods are and how gangs and families aren't families anymore, tribes are not under the same roof. I'm looking at all of these things now. I look at, well, if I had my very own, I would have to cultivate them to be stoic, worded up, covered always, prayed up always. They would have to have a relationship with God 1000%. If above anything else, they would have to have a relationship with God, because the world is so cruel. They will lie to you, they will hunt you down, they will eat you alive. People are so easily manipulated and controlled that you touched on a lot of it. I would want a lot of the things that you described for my nieces and my nephews and any children that I have, because at the end of the day, I don't want to see minds behind a cell or behind a glass that I have to touch the screen in order to have any type of connection to them. I don't want to see my child walking up and down the street at 2-3 o'clock in the morning waiting for somebody to try to pick them up. So I would have to just be the unpopular one. I'm sorry. I would have to be the unpopular. Sorry, you're just not gonna like me. We're gonna have good days. We're going to laugh. We're going to. I'm not going to be a warden to the point where you can't come to me and talk to me. You're not going. I'm not going to make it to where you can be yourself and develop in yourself. I think that is a problem too, where you don't allow your children to develop their own self sense of worth. So I wouldn't be that type of person, but no, the way the way things is now, I would never ever.
The way that you do that, being someone who is a parent and someone who has raised children to the one is 17, one is 19. And so what I can say with some degree of authority is when you see your children as the potential future of humankind and you treat your sons to act like leaders and leadership as a way of serving others, and you teach your daughter to act as nurturing individuals who wish to care for others and present that care as a way of educating and providing inspiration to those who need it. That is how you create children that are raised with the right values. Stoicism isn't a lack of emotion, it's control. It's knowing when to express emotion and when to not. When to be expressive and when to hold back. Knowing that both of those serve a greater good than the self. I myself am a Stoic. I think Stoicism is a wonderful way to live. Stoicism is a recipe for self-leadership. And when you take responsibility for your actions, you accept the way that things are as the way they are, and you decide that you're going to act in a way that is most becoming for you and for others, regardless of what's going on around you. That is when you begin acting like a leader. That is when you begin acting like an upright, upstanding human being, worthy of respect.
You know, it pains me, right? That so many souls out here who got the short end of the stick have this idea of what raising someone is supposed to parrot or look like because of repeated history reinventing itself over and over in their own life. And what happens if you put yourself in situations to where you have to do it on your own without the other party, it makes it 10 times harder, and you develop this shell because it feels as if you have to be multiple people in order to make up for the lack thereof, because you can't have or bake a cake without eggs. You can, and I've said this before, you can do certain things, but if you're taking out certain ingredients, it's going to be a cake, but it's not going to be a cake, or it's not going to be that. Like my grandmother, man, she makes the most banging lasagnas, the most amazing peach cobblers. But if I asked someone else to make it, it's going to be good, but it's not going to be that. It's not going to have that extra little crust on the side of the pan like I'm used to. So it's like we're I'm not knocking anyone's parenting, but what I suggest or what I am saying is that if we want the best for our futures, we got to look at ourselves first and what we're doing and what we're doing around them, what we're introducing ourselves to, and what we're introducing them to, and all of these. There's so many different factors to it, but at the same time, it's just rough. But it doesn't have to be completely overwhelming at all. And you said something that I found very, very um interesting when you said we 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 house them, but they're not ours, and that's fact. None of us belongs to none of us belong to the person who gave birth to us. Our real father is in heaven. He formed us in the womb. He's the real alpha and omega here. He can turn the lights on and off anytime he wants. But he gave us the responsibility or the honor to be able to develop these minds into being somebody. And that's an honor in itself, which should make you want to take better care of yourself as well.
All facts.
I guess my final thoughts on this. Me personally, no. I will not be your friend. We're not going to be buddy buddy. We're going to be cool. I'm going to be everything that. Let me see how I can say this. I'm going to be everything that you should expect from anyone that chooses or you choose to bring into your life. I'm going to represent that. I'm going to be the representation of the love that you're supposed to have. I'm going to be the representation of what a husband is supposed to look like. I'm going to be the representation of what the man of the house is supposed to look like. What a friend looks like. Funny how I said I'm not going to be your friend, but I'm still going to represent what a friend looks like. Because friends hold you accountable. Friends tell you the truth when you don't want to hear it. Friends chastise you. Friends clown you. Friends are there with you even when they don't want to be there with you. So I will be the person that you're supposed to have in your circle when you're doing business, when you get married, when you have ups and downs. That's who I'm going to represent. And if you're not striving to have these type of individuals around you, you're going to know automatically. If they don't align with what I put in you and what I showed you, you're going to know. You're going to know off the bat because you've seen it. I've shown it to you every single day of your life, from the time you came out of her to the day that you turn 18 and even further on. You're going to know not to be weak-minded. You're going to know how to be vulnerable. You're going to know how to be strong. You're going to know how to deal with certain things in life that most people can't handle. You're going to know how to deal with temptation. You're going to know God, and you're You're going to stumble. You might have hiccups here and there, but I think that's where people get this whole thing twisted up. And when I see children and I see kids like the 16-year-old and like the guy we just watched, all I see is a reflection of their parents. Nothing more or less.
It's funny. Yes, they are a reflection of their parents, and at the same time, at a certain point, their parents are no longer held responsible, because when that time comes and they become an adult, okay, your parents did the best they could. What are you going to do with that? What are you now going to do? How are you going to present yourself? And what changes are you going to make in your life? Because now you are responsible for you. So, yes, your parents did what they did. But now that you are an adult and you have control of your life, what are you going to do with that? How are you going to take that and take a lump of clay, and what are you going to create from that? One thing that Michelangelo said when he was creating the David, one of the most famous structures or famous sculptures in all of Rome, was he never actually created the David. The David was always in there. He just chipped away the pieces until it revealed itself. And that's what we as human beings have to be willing to do every single day. What pieces do we need to chip off? How much of us had our parents done to shape us into who we are? And what left do we have to do to finish the process? And by finishing that process, to what degree we ever end up at is what we are teaching our kids, which then gives them the opportunity to take responsibility for themselves, their creation, and find out what else are you going to do to help refine this process, to help refine who you are. Eventually, it gets to the point where someone in that line says, I can do better. And that's what's most important is having the knowledge that there will, at some point in the line of Melvin, in your bloodline, either before you or after you, there's going to be someone there that will either say or have said, I can do better, and made the choice to do better. And the mark that it's going to have on those that come after you, or those that come after that person, that's going to be something worth celebrating. So whatever you do, here's the message that I have for everyone here that's watching this, either live or watching the replay. Whatever it is that you are doing right now, whether you are doing your best or not, you are doing something. And if you have children, you're going to interact with them in a certain way, and they're going to make their decisions. And there's going to come a point, maybe it's you, maybe it's your kids, maybe it's further down the line. Someone is going to say, I can do better. And as long as that opportunity is there, it will take itself. It will present itself to those who are willing to receive it. And the effect that it has on those that come after them is something that is to be greatly rewarded. But we don't know what that better is because we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know what right looks like. So do what you feel you have to do. Better yourself, obviously. But don't be consumed in the idea that you have to be better, that you stop all progress and you just focus on what you aren't doing. Do something. Just do something.
And if that doesn't work, I'm sorry. I'm bullshit. I'm bullshit. But
oh man,
I'm just saying, because some of these kids, man, and they got some smart ass mouths. For real. Sometimes you gotta take that belt off. I go grandma style. go back out there, get that switch, and yeah, it's going down. But
You're cracking me up.
that's real talk, man. That's real talk. Everybody do things their own way, whatever works for you. Matter of fact, round of applause to all the parents, man, because I'm talking about the real ones, the ones that's really doing this in and out every single day. You might not have had the tools that you needed, but you still worked with what you had. And hopefully moving forward, looking back, your children will thank you for everything that you've done for them. So man, my hats off to you, sir, and to everyone else that's doing, this long life thing, man. It's a beautiful blessing. I know a lot of people complain and but at the end of the day, that's a precious, precious gift. And
You're
it's an
supposed to complain.
underrated, you know.
I was gonna say you're supposed to complain, but who you complain to, that's what really matters. You can complain to your friends, you can complain to your spouse, you can complain to your parents. Your parents might laugh, but you can complain to them. Just don't complain to your kids.
Noted. Noted. Never let them see that. Never let them see that. And I'm gonna say this before we close out. I never saw my grandmother or my pops complain about nothing. If they had bills and they had deadlines and stuff that they were trying to figure out here, I never heard nothing about it. They handled all of their personal stuff, all of the house stuff, they did all of that in the room. They went to the room, they said whatever they needed to say. After they did all of that, my grandma went downstairs, she went to the kitchen, she threw down. There was a different meal every day of the week. And he went to work, came home. It just was like that. The kids never heard about nothing.
That's real. That is a mature, and that is a responsible parenting style. And my parents always waited until my sister and I were asleep before they really talked about things. I could hear them, but I I, I wasn't there for the conversation. They weren't complaining to me. They were working things out on their own, and that's all that really matters. Kids are gonna hear. So what? It's are you talking to them? Are you talking around them? Or are you making the effort to make it a private conversation between adults?
Right, right. That's another thing too. But we could save that for a whole nother time, man. I thank you, brother, for pulling up tonight. As always, it's a pleasure and a privilege to kick the shit with you. I am only I'm here tonight. I'm here Thursday, and I'm spinning the block Saturday. The rest of the week, I am just gonna let my mind relax a little bit. And yeah. Any final words before we close out?
Everyone just keep on doing what you're doing. Life is meant to be life is a risk that we are supposed to be willing to take and look forward to. Fall in love with it and look forward to every risk that you take as being a possible learning lesson that you can grow from.
Right on, right on, right on. Hold on. Let me do my shout outs in here real quick before we head out. Adrian, I see that you pulled into the building. I got to get my soundboard fixed, folks. Section 8, Mr. Greg Kelly in the building. I appreciate both of y'all. Shout out to everybody who came out tonight. Um, we be back Thursday, same time, same place. Saturday after hours. Don't know where I'm going with that one yet, but stay tuned. This is Assembly of Excellence saying God bless. Have a good evening. Sleep well and have a blessed week.